Hi, ladies. Welcome, welcome. Jaki Sabourin here, and this is my date night live video coaching call. And I'm so excited to be coming to you tonight to talk about how to ask a man what he wants. And this is a major conundrum for most women. And so that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I want to give you some guidelines and some tips so that you can have these courageous conversations, what I like to call them. And before I go any further, I just want to make sure that the ladies on YouTube can get to my video. It says live. Okay, I'm just making sure. Sometimes I've got to check the settings, so I apologize for making you wait. Let me go there. Okay, here we go. I'm going to actually start over. Okay, ladies, Jaki Sabourin here. Welcome to our date night video, and I'm excited about talking to you tonight about how to ask a man for what you want, or actually how to ask a man for what he wants. So you really want to ask these burning questions to the guy that you're dating about, or you're going to date, about what his long-term goals are, or where he sees himself in 5 years, or what his plans are for the future, and what his intentions are with dating you. And so sometimes that can be really hard because we don't want to risk rejection. That's what it comes down to, right? And so we hesitate to ask for what we want. And in that process of not asking and not being really clear and upfront, we end up maybe feeling resentful down the road because we haven't established from the very beginning what it is that we want. And so I want to give you some tips on doing this. It's so important to be really crystal clear right up front. And that's the first thing I want to recommend that you do. And here's why. Because how can you go out with somebody and get into a relationship with somebody when you don't know what you want? The best thing you can do, and there's 2 reasons why I'm saying this, is to get really clear on what it is that you want and not make any compromises to that. If you want to be in a committed relationship and you want to be married, then I recommend that you do not waver on that for no one. And no matter how good looking he is, or how successful he is, or how perfect he seems for you, if he doesn't want what you want, then he's not perfect for you, because you'll end up, like I said, feeling resentful, or worse, feeling like you have to start pretzeling yourself in an attempt to get him to like you more or win him over so that he can start to see your point of view. And I'm telling you, I've been there. That is just the worst feeling, is when you feel like you have to become better or do things better or be thinner or prettier to try to win a guy over to want what you want. And so get really clear on what you want, what that looks like, and don't waver, because the benefit of this is that no matter what the outcome of any conversations you have, even if it's a yes or if it's a no, you are prepared to move forward because you've already got really crystal clear on what it is you want. And another reason why it's really important to get crystal clear on what you want, it's because that kind of clarity inspires a man. So relationships are mirrors. And so you're always mirroring each other's behavior. If one person, I want to use an example that, say, maybe your boyfriend gets audited. Okay, I'm just making this up. But I think it's a good analogy. And he comes home and he's really stressed out and he has some fear, right? And then you might start to project, like pick up some of that fear and start to think, oh my goodness, since he's going through this, that means we're not going to have money for this. And all of a sudden you might start to go in scarcity and lack because you're mirroring, right? You're picking up on his fear and it's starting to affect you, and you're starting to buy into it, because our mind is basically fear-based. Really easy to get into that cycle. And so then you're both resonating fear and you're both fearful. And so you might make decisions from that space. So that's why it's so important to stay crystal clear, because when you're really clear, you put off a vibration of not only a high value woman, but he's going to sense that if he doesn't line up with you, that you might leave and go on to find somebody else that does. That is so valuable. It's so valuable for him to know that you are crystal clear about what you want, and you're not going to stop until you get it. because he's going to hesitate and go, well, if I don't give it to her, she'll find somebody that will. And that's exactly what I want, where I want you to come from, because you know what? If he doesn't give you what you want, you will find somebody that will. And that you have to have that mindset. I had that mindset with Michael. When we were getting closer to making that commitment, we had a conversation, and I'll share that. I'll share that with you right now. And so, because I know it's going to help you. And so I was so clear that I was done being single after being single for 8 years. And I was so clear that I wanted a man who was ready to be in a relationship. And so I was really clear on those 2 points. And so I was looking for a man who was in that space also. So the other things that were important to me kind of were moved down from the list. So I wanted a man that was loyal. I wanted a man that was successful. I wanted a man that was active, but I really wanted a man that was emotionally available and ready to be in a committed relationship. And so, because that was the priority, and I got that clarity through that guy I know I've shared with you that I had dated for a while, who ghosted me. And he wasn't emotionally available. And neither was I, because I was getting into a relationship with somebody that wasn't emotionally available. And so after that, I got ghosted. The pain of that was a catalyst to get really clear, not to make any exceptions, not to go out with emotionally unavailable men, because they aren't in a place where and there's a reason why men don't make themselves emotionally available, because they don't want the same thing. And they don't really have to be that emotionally available to you if you're not raising the bar on what your expectations are. And so there came a time in our relationship when I was with Michael where we had been dating for, I think it was 8 months, and I was really wanting a commitment. I wanted to know that we were going to, get married. And I kept asking him, what, he kept saying, in tender moments, he kept saying, I'm all in. And I love to hear that. I love to hear those words, right? They're magic when we hear our man say, I'm all in. And then I would say, and I recommend that you write this down. This is a great thing to say. And this will help you with how to ask a man for what he wants. What's your vision for us? Though it just seems like it's less pressure, like it's what's your vision. So write that down if you can. So what's your vision for us, baby? And that's what I would say. And he would change the subject, or he wouldn't answer me. He would think, but I could tell he wasn't answering me. And so after 3 times of asking this on various different times over a couple months, I decided that wasn't acceptable to me. It wasn't okay to me that when I asked somebody that I was in love with and spending time with and having this level of intimacy with, that I ask him a question, I expect to be answered, because we're in a relationship. I expect to have that intimacy. And when he wasn't answering me, I had to make my own conclusions about that. I'm like, okay, he's not prepared to answer that question. Well, that's an answer right there. He's not ready for that. That's why he's not answering. So I did some really deep soul searching and decided that what I wanted more than anything was a man that was emotionally available, was willing to walk this walk with me. And so I asked if we could have a conversation. And so this is another thing about how to ask for what you want. So you want to ask for that conversation. You come from a place of wanting, not demanding. It's a big difference. And so come from a place of wanting, not demanding. And how you do that is you ask for an appointment, or you set up a time to talk, so that you're not just confronting him or dumping it on him unexpectedly. You give him a chance to think about, this time that you're going to sit down and talk. So I set an appointment with Michael for the next night after work, and I went over to his place, and I went to his place for a reason. And so if you're going to ask a man for what he wants out of the relationship that you've been seeing, I recommend doing it in a place where you can leave. There's a reason for this, so that you don't have to ask him to leave. So after you have the conversation, if things don't go the way you want, you actually can get up and walk out and not feel like you're trapped, or not have to ask him to leave. So you're really in a more power position. And so we sat down and had the conversation, and I told him that I expected him to be more forthright with me, that when he says all in and he hadn't replied, I told him that was unacceptable, that I expected him to be honest and forthright with me for the level of intimacy we shared. And so what I mean by the level of intimacy, I mean that We were sexually intimate. We were emotionally intimate. We were spiritually intimate. I mean, we were going there. I was intimate with his children. He was intimate with my children. I was a part of his family now. And so we had a high level of intimacy. So when I ask a question, I expect an answer. And you should too. You should expect an answer. And so when he didn't answer me, the conversation was about, why he was stuck and he couldn't answer me. And so I told him that that was unacceptable, that I wanted to be in a relationship with somebody that was prepared to answer my questions and be forthright. And I said, let me answer the question for you. This is what I said. I said, I know what your all in is. I know what that is because I can see by your behavior what that is. And what that is we go on these weekend trips, which are fabulous. Thank you. They've been amazing. And we have, and I went through all the things that we'd experienced, and that was his all in. And so I kind of mirrored that back to him in this conversation. I said, and it's been wonderful. And I am so grateful for this time that we spent together. I said, but I think we're on a different page because my all in is different than that. And I could tell his face kind of dropped when I said that. I said, I was getting ready to go on a trip. I said, I'm going to go on my trip. And when I come back, I'm going to be thinking about what that looks like for me. I told him, I'm not breaking up with you, but my all in is different than your all in. And so I need to figure out what I'm going to do next. And so I left and we hugged, and it was a beautiful conversation, but it was definitely strained because I was so clear on what I wanted. I was prepared for the yes or the no. And that's another thing. When you're asking a man what he wants with you, you want to be prepared for the conversation to go either way. And you can only be prepared for the conversation to go either way if you are really clear on what you want and you're not willing to compromise. That's where I was. I was not willing to spend another month with Michael unless I knew that we were on the same page. And here's why. Because as women, we feel safe in relationships and we can open to a man more fully when we feel safe. And the way we feel safe is that we feel like a man has our back. He's our guy. He's committed to us. He's showing up for us, and he's going to be there for the long run. And when a man is there for you in that way, we can relax in our life. We can open up and relax to him even more. And when you don't have that level of commitment, it's really hard. You end up holding back or playing games that you don't even mean to play because he's not giving you what you need to feel safe so that you can open. And so the little tug of war happens. So I knew without a doubt that I was going to leave the relationship if I couldn't get the commitment, because I knew that I would begin to resent him, and I knew that I couldn't open anymore to him. And it would be doing him a disservice, and I would start to resent him. And so I was really clear, and I was okay with yes or no, because here's why I'm okay with yes or no. And as much as it would hurt to have him have, said that he didn't want a committed relationship, the beautiful thing about that is that it frees me up to move on so that I can find a man that is ready to have a relationship. And I don't want to waste any more time. And I don't want you ladies to waste any more time either. And so important for you to get crystal clear on what you want and not make exceptions or compromises to your bottom line, because you won't be happy and you'll end up resenting a man. So when you have that kind of clarity, it gives you confidence. You're more confident. And when I went into that conversation with Michael that day, I had already made my mind up that if he didn't want to move forward, I was going to vote with my feet and leave the relationship. As hard as that would have been, it would have been easier for me than to stay in a relationship that I knew was going nowhere. That is so painful. And I know that if you're on this call, you probably can relate to that. And so I hope this helps you. It's so important. So what I recommend is, when you're just starting out dating, that's why I really recommend to go ahead and ask a man what it is he's looking for. You don't have any attachment to an outcome. It's a perfect stranger. When you're sitting on a plane and you end up talking to the person next to you and you tell them like your life story and you're like, I don't even know this person, never see him again, but I told them so much. So it's kind of like that. When you just meet a man, you have nothing to lose. So that's the ideal time to show up courageously and have those courageous conversations and come from a place of genuine curiosity. You're not asking him to marry you. You're just going, what are you looking for? And then tell him what you're looking for. I'm looking for my forever guy, in your own words. Say what feels comfortable for you. I'm looking for that special someone to spend the rest of my life with. I'm in a new chapter in my life, and I'm really excited about this next chapter, and I'm looking for somebody to go on this great adventure with me. What are you looking for? I mean, it just sounds so, actually, it sounds exciting. If you come from like a place of excitement, you and that passion, that's really enticing to men, to anyone. So I would recommend that you show up more courageously at the beginning, so that you don't have to wonder how you're going to ask that man after you have some chemistry with him 2 dates in. You don't even know what he wants. And men are more likely to tell you in the very beginning of what they want than later, because they start to get feelings for you, and they start to maybe have a little fear, and they have to process that. So they don't know, they don't know yet. They still want to continuing to explore a relationship with you. So even if it doesn't work out when you ask him what he wants, and he says, I want a long-term committed relationship, and he says he wants a long-term committed relationship, and then you start dating, but it doesn't work out, that's okay. That's one of the things about dating. We have to be willing to take those risks, because maybe it starts out that you both want the same thing, but it turns out not with each other. So make sure you have this courageous conversation right up front. And if you don't, set an appointment. And another thing about having this conversation is making sure that you're in a good environment. Don't ask a man to talk when he's in the middle of watching a football game. It's just not going to happen. And so make sure that you set an appointment, ask him when's a good time. If he wants to know what you want to talk about, just say us. I want to talk about us. I'm a woman. I want to just check in with you. And I want to do it in a time when we both can give the conversation our undivided attention. So if he asks you what you want to talk about, go ahead and tell him. Don't make him worry that you're going to break up with him or something else, and let him be prepared for that conversation, because he has to build up some courage too. And so, be direct. This is really important. When you do have this conversation, be really direct. Men really appreciate your ability to be direct. Men can't read our minds, and I think women sometimes want to try to get the man to ask us or pull information out of us. So do yourself a favor and be really direct when you have this conversation. Just lob it out there and go from there, because in that process, when you're not direct, it comes across as being insecure. So this will just be really a best approach for you. Is just you can simply say is that I've just loved the last 2 months, 4 months, whatever it is, month that we spent together, and I guess it never came up. This is if you didn't have the conversation. I guess it never came up in the beginning. We've been dating, but I think this is as good as time as any to check in with you and ask you, what are your long-term goals? I mean, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I mean, for me, and go ahead and courageously speak into what you want. For me, I'm really wanting to get married again. I've been divorced for 8 years, and there were so many things about being married that I loved. And so that's really what my heart is longing for. What about you? What are you looking for? I mean, just that's what you have to do. You have to do it, because like I said, the consequences that when you don't do it, they really stack up against you, and it affects your relationship, and you can have a breakdown in your relationship because of it. So I recommend doing that before you spend too much time with a man. But it's okay if you haven't done it and you've been dating a man. Now is a good time as any to have that conversation. And so I hope this was helpful. I'm ready to answer questions on these date night videos, ladies. I like to do, they're both these videos, I'm going to straighten my top out here. Both of these videos that I'm making, one on YouTube and one on Facebook, is live. And you like my jacket? Isn't this fun? This is like a stretchy velvet. I just love this color too. Woo, so wonderful. I love that the fall's here, so we can start wearing our fall clothes. And so let me read some of the questions and then reply to them. Yeah. Yes, Danny, you're right. It would be nice if men came forward more. So maybe it would be nice if we came forward more. I mean, let's turn that around. Maybe if we came forward more, we wouldn't spend time with men that don't want the same thing. And I think a lot of the reasons why we hesitate is because we're afraid of rejection. We're afraid to get too serious and scare them away. Well, you know what? Too bad. If men can't step up and step into that role, then they're not your guy anyway. You're not scaring anybody away. we've just trained ourselves to put other people before us, and we have to stop that. We have to expect to get what we want. And I'm not talking about entitlement. I'm talking about out of life, our dreams. We should expect that to have the things in life that we want, especially when we're willing to work for them. And so, thanks, Danny. So let's see some questions. Telling us how Michael responded. Okay, let me finish the story and how Michael responded. So I came back from Hawaii, and he asked to pick me up at the airport, but this isn't a game, but I know that I wanted to remain in my power position. So I said, no, my daughter's going to pick me up in the airport. I'm going to, why don't we get together tomorrow? So I came home and I had my daughter pick me up, and then I met him the next day. I went back over to his house instead of meeting him the same day, which he really wanted to see me the same day. But I said, no, I'm tired. And I wanted him to wait. I wanted him to really know what he was going to miss out on if he wasn't ready to commit. And that's why I wasn't so eager to talk to him. I'd already made up my mind when I went to Hawaii that I was going to move on. And I'd kind of done some inner work to prepare myself if that was the ultimate outcome. So I went over to his house, and right away he gave me a big hug, and he said he missed me, and we sat down to talk. And he right away said he wanted to talk first, and he shared with me that he was in a lot of fear. He'd had a difficult time in his divorce. He was married for 25 years, and he was really afraid to get into a committed relationship again. And even though we were in a committed relationship, to get married again. And he said that was what was holding him back. But he said that he really does love me, and he really did want to marry me. And he goes, but I'm not asking you to marry me right now, but I'm going to. Do you want to get married? And I said, yes, I want to get married. And I was so happy. So, I was prepared for it to go either way, but I think that time away gave Michael some time to process. So if you do drop that, that question on a man, give him some time to process, and especially so he can see what his life would be without your beautiful self in it. Okay. And it's a little bit of a takeaway, and it really helps bring perspective. It's like, this is what it's going to be like without me around. You bring so much color, joy, passion, sensuality, femininity to a man's life. You really need to know your value. You bring something that can't be quantified in like a dollar, or, your contribution is so much bigger than that. And you need to know that so that you can stand in this courageous conversation. So I'm going to answer a question on Facebook right now. Do you think a 76-year-old man is too old for me? I'm 58, but it seems he provides everything. Well, that's, I really can't tell you one way or another. Here's the thing. I think age is just a number. There's no guarantee, even if you married or met somebody that was closer to your age, that it would work out. I mean, anything can happen, right? Anything can happen to me. Just because I'm 10 years younger than Michael doesn't mean that, he's going to die first. I mean, I'm just being real. There's no guarantees in life. And if you're happy with this man, then I say go for it. And if something happens, you'll be okay. You'll work through it. You'll process it. But I wouldn't put my life on hold because of an age. That's just how I feel about age. I think that if you're having a great experience, and he loves you and you love him, and you guys have agreed to the life that you want to have, then Monica, go for it. And just know that since he is older than you, something could happen, and be prepared for that. If you're going to get married, make sure he sets something up for you so that you have something to fall back on so that you can get your life together. But other than that, I'd say go for it. That's so exciting. Congratulations. Okay. So how soon on dating can I tell him what I want? And so how soon on dating can I tell them what I want? Well, I recommend that you talk to them right up front and look at the dating apps. Make sure they say long-term committed relationship. And then I just kind of drop that in the conversation right up front. And I have never heard from any of my clients or myself a man not tell me. And if they don't, in the very beginning, the first conversation, and they don't answer you, that's a red flag right there. It would be good to say, so you don't know what you want? Really? And if they say, I don't know what I want, say, really? I found that interesting. And you can give them a little bit of a hard time. I think men do know what they want. Whether or not they're going to tell you, that's another thing. And so just because they tell you they want a committed relationship doesn't mean it's with you, right? You just want to make sure you're playing on the same in the same game. And so let me read some questions here from YouTube. I met a guy last weekend and he's already mentioned that he's 35 and wants to get married and have kids. We're going on our first date tomorrow. Is it too fast for him to tell me this information? No, I think that's wonderful. He's really clear. Like I said in the beginning of the call, he wants to get married and have children. He's not saying he wants to marry you. So you got to be really careful. What he's saying, he's communicating his desire to have children and to be in a committed relationship and create a family. And so he's looking for that woman. Now, I don't know if you're it, but at least you know that if you want those things, you're like, fantastic. Let's explore this. That's all you're doing. It's an exploration. You don't know if you're going to be compatible, but at least you know that there's the intention is there and you share the same intention. That is so wonderful. So you say, great, let's get together and see if there's any chemistry, right? That's fun. So that's the ideal situation, McCallie. So good for you. And so everything you say is true. However, many women suffer from being too hypergamous. My question is, what level of hypergamy do women expect, and what level of hypergamy do you think is unrealistic? Oh my goodness, I don't really know what hypergamy means. I'm going to Google it. Let me just look it up real quick and I'll know. Sorry. Action of marrying a person of the superior class. Got it. Okay. Okay. What level of hypergamy do women expect, and what level do you think is unrealistic? Okay. So marrying in another class is what she's saying. And I didn't know what that meant. So thank you. You educated me. And so I don't believe in any of that. I do think that what statistics show is that men will marry, and I don't want to say down, don't take that the wrong way, because I'm lacking a better word, but marry a woman who maybe has a lesser education. Maybe she graduated from college or high school and has a bunch of certifications, and he has a college degree. Statistically, it shows that men will marry women that have less of an education, but less statistics show that women marry men that have less of an education than them. So I really think I don't really have any rules about that. I think that if there's compatibility, the only thing that could sabotage that is if you were marrying a man who was in a certain groups or clubs and associations that required his wife, a woman that he's with, to have a certain level of to be articulate, to show up in a certain way. And that's why I always say, if you want a man that's like this, then you have to look and see if you're the kind of woman that he would have on his arm. Businessmen, maybe they really want a woman that can go to business dinners, and he can provide support as his the support a man would need if he has a high-powered job and he's expected to socialize with all the other people. I mean, so you would need to be that woman, right? So if you're really a gypsy and you're like a hippie and you're all casual and you're barefoot lifestyle, that might not be a match for somebody who is looking for something else. So another thing, when we're looking for men, the kind of man that you're looking for, you want to see if you would be a match for him. Like, I love a man that wears suits and that can wear a pair of jeans, and flip-flops. I love a man to be able to vacillate between those two. That's important to me because I love to dress up, but I also like to wear flip-flops and no makeup, and I really love that. In fact, most of the time I don't wear makeup, and I only put makeup on for YouTube and Facebook. Because, it's pretty, but my go-to is the more natural look. Okay, how do I tell a guy in the first date, if I don't like him, that I won't see him again when he asks for a second date without hurting his feelings? Oh, good one. Well, I want you to remember that they're his feelings. Okay, it's not your responsibility to worry about his feelings. They're just that. They're his feelings, and it's not your job to protect him. He's a big boy. but you can be sensitive to other people's feelings, but I wouldn't own his feelings. So basically, the faster you move through that process of letting him go, you're doing him a favor. So what I recommend doing is just sending a really lovely text. Thank you, John, so much for the wonderful dinner. I so appreciate it. I don't feel we're a match at this time. Good luck on your journey. And then block them from your phone, delete them from the dating app, unmatch with them, and just move on. That's the best thing you could do. And it's the best thing a man can do for you, right? That's so kind. If you can tell a man that, you kind of pay it forward, because you hope that a man will do that for you. No, it doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good. Even if you didn't want to go out with him again, having a man say that he doesn't feel he's a match doesn't feel good. It stings a little, stings our ego, but it's better than wondering why he's not calling you. So I would just let him off the hook as soon as possible and just kind of rip that bandage off. There's a Jack Canfield, tell the truth fast. I'm a big believer, and as soon as you have your truth and you know it in any situation in life, you need to let that other person know. If you change your mind about a trip, if you don't want to go to the movies, if you're not interested in seeing them anymore, it's all about being in your integrity. And also, you want to stay in that integrity so that you can continue to attract and manifest from that place of integrity. And so it's important from that frequency, from that place of looking at that energetic frequency, that you stay on your path of manifesting your soulmate by letting go of the men that you're not interested in really quickly. Okay, so what if he asked me right on the date? That's a great question. So sometimes when you're on a date, a man will say, and this is a tough one, I really had a good time tonight. I'd love to take you out again. You want to go out on Thursday? And there's a couple ways that you can do this. I would, this is really tough, but you could say, I enjoyed getting to know you and I really appreciate the drink. Thank you so much. I don't feel we're a match, but I know you're going to meet a terrific woman and it's just a matter of time. Just keep going. So I've got to get running. I've got to take off. Thank you so much for everything. And you walk out. Really hard to do, easy to say. If you don't feel comfortable with that, you say, let me check my schedule and I'll get back to you. And then the next day, text him that you give it some thought. And as much as you appreciate the offer for a second date, you don't feel you're a match. So that's kind of plan B. If you don't have the courage in the moment to hurt his feelings, and I know it's really hard to do that. Most women don't. But if you have the courage and the setting is right, where you feel safe to let him down gently, then do that so that you don't have to think about it anymore. You don't want to be worrying and thinking about this is why. Yeah. Okay, so which is better for compatibility, common interest or common values? That's a good one. I'd say common values, because the values really are important, right? Your values, it's the way you look at life, and it's the way you're going to do your life. Your hobbies and interests can be independent. Michael doesn't do all the things that I do and vice versa. So, and I don't need him to do that, but our values are the same. And for the most part, we do have a little bit different political views, but I don't have a problem with that. I respect his views. I don't own them, and I don't have to agree with him. So, but our values in terms of the way that we structured our relationship, integrity, honesty, loyalty, those are the most important thing. From that place, we can have our own interests. So I hope that helps you. I'm just looking. I'm looking at what Thomas wrote. We have a man here on our live video, and he said, I'm going to go ahead and read it. Women shouldn't expect to marry up when over 40. Thanks. I was looking for that word. Thank you. When over 40, making 40K and expecting a guy to make 150K without a prenup. Well, you know what? I think prenups are fine. I'm just going to say that right here and now. Whatever it takes for everybody to feel safe. It's a personal thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I think they're pretty modern. Finances are a big concern. And if there is a concern about finances, the most wholesome thing you could do is discuss it honestly and ask for what you need to feel safe. Make sure the other person is taken care of as well, so all parties feel safe. And then you can have a balanced, harmonious relationship. So whatever you need to do, I don't know if men need to, if women, anyways, I hope that answers your question. I just wanted to add to that, Thomas. It wasn't really a question. It was a statement. I think that women can expect whatever they want. To be honest, I think we should expect to get what we want. Um, and we should expect whatever we want out of life. And again, we have to, with that expectation comes a lot of responsibility. So I don't say that from a place of entitlement, but what I mean by that is that as as divine beings of light and love, our birthright is to have everything that we want in life. Now, whether or not we're going to work for it is another story. So if you want something, you have to set yourself up in alignment to have it. So if you want a man that's in the Fortune 500, you need to be the woman that can hold that space. Whether that means you have a corporate job or you are a runway model, I don't know, but that just have to. Each case is different. And so, let's see if there's any other questions. Yeah, I think what Thomas was just making a statement about what his personal views were about what he thinks women should or should not expect. And so, I was just talking about what he posted in the chat. And as far as saying that there's nothing wrong with a prenup, just remember, this is my own personal point of view. I've actually had a prenup before in my first marriage, and I don't have one in this marriage. So I'm speaking from experience. I've been on both sides of that. And it's really up to you to make that personal decision for yourself. And I support you, whatever you decide. Those are decisions you have to make. I don't want to influence you either way. I've just had that experience on both sides. And so it worked for me. Both scenarios work. It's all about being honest and making sure everybody feels safe. That's where I'm coming from. So, oh, good. Right. I'm just seeing, I don't see any more questions, and we're up at 36 minutes. So I'm going to end the video, but thank you. Somebody's saying my hair looks nice. Thank you, Leslie. I just had it cut. I was highlighting it, and it got really dry, and you know the drill. So I had to take about 2 inches off and dropped in some low lights and freshen it up. So it's my fall look. And ladies, thank you so much for being here and posting such great questions. And those of you on YouTube and Facebook, thank you again, ladies. I just love connecting with you this way. If you have any topics that you want covered, please post it in the chat after the calls, and I will go back through and create some videos for you based on the topics that you're wanting some training on. Okay? All right, ladies, I'm just sending you so much love tonight. Bye.